Emma, my older sister, has always been the black sheep in my family. Ever since I can remember, our parents, especially our mother, have always favored her over me. It's been this way since we were kids, and it's only gotten worse as we've grown up. Emma was always the best student, the popular girl, and the one who excelled at everything she did. She was the captain of the cheerleading squad, received all A's, and was even voted prom queen. In contrast, I struggled in school, had a small circle of friends, and preferred to spend time in the art room rather than going to social events. Our parents never missed an opportunity to compare us, and they would constantly compliment Emma. This tendency continued into our adult lives. When I received a B on an exam, they would ask why it wasn't an A, and when Emma received an A, they would throw a celebration dinner. Emma went to an Ivy League college on scholarship, while I studied art at a state school. Our parents were proud of Emma's decision, but they were suspicious of mine, constantly asking me if I was sure I could make a living as an artist. I remember the day I told them about my college choice. We were sitting at the dinner table. I had spent weeks building up the courage to announce my choice, and when I finally told them, my father's face fell, and my mother looked like she was about to cry. Emma, of course, contributed, asking if I was sure that was a good idea. Art school isn't exactly known for job security, so my parents agreed, and I felt my hopes crumble in front of my parents. Despite their disapproval, I stuck to my decision because those 4 years of college were some of the best of my life. I finally felt like I belonged with people who understood and valued creativity. I excelled in my studies and made the dean's list several times, but when I shared these accomplishments with my family, they were met with a lukewarm reception. "That's nice, dear." The conversation would then shift to Emma's most recent achievement, which was that she got a high-paying job at a renowned law firm in the city after graduation. In contrast, I struggled to establish myself as a freelance illustrator, working several part-time jobs. Our parents were always curious about Emma's latest case or advancement, but when I brought up my creative endeavors, they changed the topic. Unpleasant family meal about 6 months after graduation. Emma was visiting from the city, and our parents had prepared her favorite dish. The entire conversation focused on her recent court victory, and my mother kept reiterating how proud she was, and my father couldn't stop smiling. When I tried to tell my mother about a small drawing I had done for a local magazine, she cut me off in the middle of my sentence to ask Emma about her plans to purchase an apartment. The situation at home had gotten worse. I was still living with our parents to save money, but the constant comparisons and subtle criticism were negatively affecting my mental health. Emma had her apartment in the city, which our parents paid for, and every time she arrived, it felt like a royal arrival. Our parents would spend days getting ready, cleaning the house, and preparing her favorite meals. When she arrived, everyone greeted her with hugs and conversation. In contrast, my presence was often treated as an afterthought. I tried to express my feelings to them several times, but it never worked. They would accuse me of being jealous of Emma's accomplishment or say that I was overly sensitive. It always sounded like they wanted you to be more like Emma. The constant comparisons affected my entire life, making me doubt my judgment, my skills, and even my value as a person. I started to withdraw from my friends, feeling ashamed of my lack of success compared to my sister. Their criticism also extended to my romantic relationships, and when I brought home my first serious boyfriend in college, who was also an art student, they spent the entire dinner questioning him about his prospects for the future and making thinly veiled comments about the unpredictability of artistic careers. But when Emma came home with her boyfriend, a law student from a wealthy family, things reached a breaking point last week. I had finally landed a big illustration commission for a children's book series. It wasn't a significant salary, but it was a step in the right direction for me professionally. I was excited to tell my family at supper, as usual, and the conversation centered on Emma's most recent achievements. She had recently won a significant case at work and was being considered for a promotion. When there was a pause in conversation, I took advantage of the moment and told them about my illustration project, trying not to get too excited. My mother's response was, "That's nice, dear, but don't you think it's time you got a real job?" "You're not." My father simply nodded in agreement, and I was devastated. I tried to explain that this was a legitimate position that could lead to other opportunities in the future, but they wouldn't listen, so I got up from my chair and groaned loudly on the floor. I told them that I was tired of being treated like a disappointment and that I was proud of the decisions I made. My parents looked shocked, and my mother started to say something about how I was being too sensitive, but I cut her off. I told them that I was moving out and that I'd rather struggle alone than deal with their constant criticism. Emma tried to be a peacemaker by telling me to calm down and not make snap decisions, but I could see a smug. She had a happy look in her eyes and was enjoying being the perfect daughter, but I was the disappointment to the family. I stormed up to my room and started packing, and Emma followed, trying to talk me out of it, but their remarks only confirmed what I already knew. They thought I was a failure and a burden. My mother even went so far as to say, "If you leave now, don't expect us to help you when you can't make rent." Memories flashed through my mind when I won a local art competition in high school, but my parents didn't attend the award ceremony because it fell during one of Emma's debating competitions. They looked disappointed that I chose art school over the business program they wanted me to attend, so I ran away with everything I could fit in my car, and as I drove away, I saw Emma and my parents. I'm currently staying with a friend while I figure out my next move. I know leaving was a bold move, but I couldn't handle it anymore. Am I overreacting? Should I have stayed and tried to help them understand, or was quitting the right decision? I feel lost and alone, but also relieved to be free of those harmful surroundings. The prospect of creating a life on my own terms is both thrilling and terrifying. I'm worried about my financial situation, but I'm also excited to pursue my art without the constant criticism and comparisons. Any advice or assistance would be greatly appreciated. I wanted to give you all an update after more than 2 months of leaving my parents' house. A lot has happened since then, and I wanted to thank you for your ideas and words of support. Your words and encouragement have been a lifeline during this difficult time. After I left, I slept on a friend's couch for a week while I looked for a more permanent option. It was challenging, but I was able to find a small studio apartment that I could barely afford with my savings and the money from my illustration project. It's not much, but it's mine, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I have my space. The first few weeks were challenging, but I pushed myself into my work, determined to prove to myself, and maybe to my family, that I could succeed on my own. Neighborhood coffee shop to supplement my income from illustration employment. Between the 2 jobs, I was working almost constantly, but it felt great to be self-sufficient. There were times when I came home exhausted, my hands hurting from hours of drawing and pouring lats, and I wondered if I had made the right choice. The tiny voice in my head, which sounded eerily like my mother, would tell me that I was foolish for thinking I could succeed as an artist. But then I would look at the illustrations I was working on and remember why I had chosen this path. My parents tried to get in touch with me several times, but I was not ready to talk to them. I needed time to process the situation and concentrate on getting on my own 2 feet. Their voicemails ranged from emotional pleas asking if I was okay to violent demands that I return home. It was difficult to ignore them, but I knew I needed time to think things out for myself. Emma called me multiple times, always in the same condescending tone, telling me that I was acting childish and that I should come home and apologize. Her words hurt me, but they also strengthened my resolve to succeed on my terms. About a month after I left, something unexpected happened. The children's book I illustrated was published, and it gained popularity. The author shared it on social media, and it caught the attention of some well-known parenting bloggers. Suddenly, I started getting emails from publishers interested in my work. I remember sitting in my small apartment, staring at my computer screen in shock when the emails arrived for the first time. I cried that night, but they were tears of relief and happiness, and I quickly secured 2 more book deals. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to enable me to quit my job at the coffee shop and pursue illustration. For the first time, I felt like my career was taking off when Emma unexpectedly showed up at my house around this time. She said she was worried about me and that our parents were furious. I invited her in more out of courtesy than anything else, and at first, she was genuinely interested in how I was doing. I showed her the published book and told her about the new projects. For a short while, I wondered if she now saw me as an equal, but then she started using the same old rhetoric. She said that while it was that I had some success, it was not a steady career. She also mentioned how scared our parents were that they only wanted what was best for me. She also mentioned again that she could find me a job at her law firm. As she spoke, I felt a familiar sense of inadequacy seeping in, but something was different this time. I looked at my work on my desk and thought about the emails from publishers in my inbox, and I lost my patience. I told her that everything was fine and that I was happier than I had ever been. I pointed out that, for the first time, I was completely independent of our parents' help, and I asked if she could say the same thing, since our parents were still paying for her apartment. Emma's face changed, revealing the same haughty, superior grin that I had seen the night I left. She snapped at me, calling me selfish and ungrateful, telling me that I was breaking our parents' hearts and should be ashamed of myself. As she was leaving, she turned and said, "Don't come crying to us if this little art phase of yours fails. We won't be there to bail you out." I felt both scared of AITA and oddly empowered because I realized that I didn't need their approval anymore because I was succeeding in doing what I like, and that was enough. The interaction with Emma made me reflect on our friendship over the years, remembering how close we were as children before comparisons and competition drove us away. I felt a twinge of sadness for the sisterhood we had lost, but I knew that I couldn't continue to hold on to that idealized vision of our relationship. In the weeks that followed, I refocused on my work and started connecting with other painters and illustrators, creating a network of like-minded creatives. For the first time, I felt like I belonged to a group that understood and valued me. I'd also started therapy to work through that I'm still not ready to talk to my parents about the years of emotional baggage I've been carrying. But it's helped me realize my worth beyond their expectations or my professional accomplishments. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. I'm proud of what I've accomplished in the past 2 months on my own, and I'm learning to be my cheerleader, celebrating my accomplishments without the need for affirmation from others. Thank you again for your support. It means more than you realize. If you're going through similar struggles, know that you are not alone. It's okay to choose yourself, pursue your interests, and define success on your terms. Update 2. It's been about a year since my last update, and I can't. The children's book series I worked on proved to be fairly successful, and I've since illustrated several more volumes. It has taken a lot of work, but I'm loving every minute of it. About 6 months ago, I moved into a bigger apartment. It's still not large, but it has enough room for a real art studio. Being able to divide my work and residential rooms has greatly improved my productivity and mental health. On the day I moved in, standing in the middle of my studio surrounded by blank canvases and the smell of fresh paint, I felt a sense of success and possibilities I had never known. My confidence has grown along with my career. Asked to speak at a few local schools about jobs in illustration, and I've even started mentoring a few young artists. It feels strange to be able to motivate people when, not long ago, I was doubting my choices. Now for the family drama. A few months after my last post, my mother called me out of the blue crying and asked if we could meet for coffee. I was hesitant, but I finally agreed to meet her for coffee because my therapist had been urging me to set boundaries and focus on mending my relationship with my family. So I saw this as an opportunity to start the process. She looked angry, and she started by apologizing for how they had treated me, admitting that they had treated me unfairly, and regretting constantly comparing me to Emma. Her words were precisely what I had hoped to for years. I was torn between wanting to believe her when she apologized and running into her arms like a little child, and being skeptical that this was just another attempt to force me to fit in with their expectations. Then she revealed the shocking news that Emma had been fired from her job at the law firm. It turned out that she had been lying about her billable hours and overcharging customers, and the company immediately fired her. I was shocked that the golden child, the perfect daughter, had fallen from grace. I experienced a range of emotions, including surprise, perverse delight, and strange concern for my sister, but that was not all. Emma had been living well beyond her means, depending on our parents to pay for her expenses. When she lost her job, she struggled to meet her expenses, accumulated a significant amount of credit card debt, and faced eviction from her residence due to her parents. Tried to help her, but the situation was dire. They had already spent a significant portion of their savings trying to keep Emma afloat. My mother broke down as she told me this, saying they felt deceived and had no idea what to do. As I listened to her, I realized how much pressure Emma must have been under for all these years, always needing to be flawless, constantly trying to meet our parents' expectations in some way. I felt for Emma, but I agreed because I felt stronger and more capable of handling it. Now that the family dinner was strained, Emma was present, and she didn't look like the polished, self-assured woman I remembered. She was defensive and angry, snapping at everyone. She claimed that our parents had not supported her enough and that I had abandoned the family. I stood my ground and told them about my achievements, including how I had built a career and a life for myself without their help. Our parents listened with pride and regret on their faces, and when Emma left midway through dinner, my parents were devastated. They apologized again for how they had treated me and said they were proud of what I had accomplished. They asked if I would consider going back home, and I told them that while I appreciated their apology, I was not interested in going back because I had built a life for myself and was with it. However, I expressed my willingness to strengthen our relationship and spend more time together, and since then, things have significantly improved. My parents and I now communicate daily, and they even paid me a visit in my new apartment, asking about my job and showing genuine interest. Have them truly listen to me and be proud of my accomplishments. Emma, on the other hand, has stopped communicating with us all. I've tried reaching her multiple times, but she hasn't responded. I hope she's doing well and can find her path free from the pressure of being the perfect child. The entire experience has taught me a lot about family relationships, self-worth, and the value of pursuing my passions. It's essential to prioritize personal happiness while also maintaining a connection with loved ones, even if that means giving them space to grow in their ways. Path. I've learned that success isn't about meeting other people's expectations, but rather about being true to yourself and doing what makes you happy. I've also learned how important it is to forgive my parents and Emma. It hasn't been easy, but I'm working on it for my own peace of mind. I've found that holding on to hatred and resentment only hurts me in the long run. Old tendencies resurface, and I have to remind myself and them that we are moving forward in the right direction. My career is thriving, and I was recently asked to illustrate a comic book, which is a dream come true. I'm also considering teaching a course at a local community college, sharing my knowledge and experiences with people interested in art. Looking back over the past year, I'm amazed at how much has changed. There were moments when I wondered if I had made the right decision in leaving, but now I realize that it was the best course of action because it forced me to stand on my own 2 feet and believe in myself when no one else would. If you're facing similar familial issues, stand up for yourself, pursue your passions, and don't let someone else make you feel less than you are. You never know how things will work out, and the path to achieving them isn't always the one that's chosen for you. Family dynamics can be complicated, and healing takes time. Be patient with yourself and others, set boundaries when necessary, but be willing to make amends if it feels right. Most importantly, remember that you are valuable regardless of what your family thinks or what others think. I'm thankful for this community and the support you've given me along the way. Your support has meant more than you can imagine. I'm excited for what the future has in store. I feel like I'm finally living life on my terms, pursuing my passions, and forming meaningful relationships. It's not always easy, but it's genuine and rewarding in a meaningful way. Thank you all once more for your unwavering support throughout this journey. It means the world to me. Let's pursue our goals, heal past hurts, and build the life we desire. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and click the notification bell to be informed of more shocking real-life stories that are happening in your community.